Here's Nimrod. Nimrod's just gonna die instantly, right? Because Newt's gonna do the bowling ball. Behold, the Nimrod. Can I freeze him? Let me see if I can freeze him first. Jesus Christ. Never mind, he's dead. Dude. Where did he land? Did he land here? He did, look at. So, Soulframe has recently lifted its NDA, meaning that anyone with access to the game can now freely share their footage, their screenshots and their overall experience with the Preludes, which means that if you sign up now, you have a chance to get in and actually play it yourself and get your own opinion. Now, over the weekend, I streamed the game live on YouTube across 3 separate sessions, showcasing, I guess, raw gameplay to give everyone a better look at the game's early state, to make up your own opinion beyond, I guess, just this video overview. Now, I had a good time diving into it, and I checked out a lot of what was on offer. However, there is 2 major points that I would like to clarify up front because they came up repeatedly in all of my streams. Soulframe is not a Souls-like game. Despite Souls being in its title, Soulframe is not intended to be Dark Souls or Elden Ring styled. It's not that hard. It's much easier and much more accessible. If you're familiar with other action RPGs or RPG MMOs, think of it more along the lines of games like The Witcher, Kingdoms of Amalur, Dragon's Dogma. It has a similar co-op setup. However, to Warframe, you can play solo or you can play in a squad of up to 4 players, but the combat isn't as refined as the other games that I mentioned, at least not in its current state. If you're coming from Warframe, I guess you could compare it to the Deviri experience, but just much more refined. Now, it is going to be a free-to-play game, I'm assuming, with the similar monetization model to what Warframe has right now. The Preludes is essentially a pre-alpha, which means it is technically just a tech demo. Content is very limited, and most of it revolves around doing a few quests to begin with, but then after that you just go out exploring, get new weapons, test them, and experiment with the Pact abilities. Now, for the sake of clarity, I'll refer to this as a demo since the game is nowhere near finished, and we will more than likely see a ton of changes before this ever reaches open beta. Now, the world of Midrath in the demo does feel empty, with only a few dungeons and low enemy density in the open world areas outside of the main areas, I guess the towns, but again, everything is subject to change as development progresses. Now, from a visual and audio perspective, Soulframe is great. The world, the dungeon tile sets, the lighting, the ambience all feel fantastic. The music is equally impressive. The new volumetric fog that was added recently also adds to the atmosphere. The transition also from your character between the open world, the dungeons, and then jumping into the Nightfold by falling backwards, which is the game's player hub to Nightfold, is seamless, and you can also instantly return to where you left off. So if you're in a dungeon and you want to go to the Nightfold, change your weapons or change your pacts, and then pop back into the dungeon exactly where you were, then you can do this. The UI could use some improvements, for example having health bars and I guess the squad information on the lower left side of your screen with the chat window stacked on top of it is very cluttered. It would be better placed on the top right of the screen or the top left to, I guess, make it easier to keep track of. The menus also need a little bit more clarity as to what everything does, a bit more of an explanation, which I'm sure will be addressed in a future update. Now, character creation isn't available in the Preludes or in the demo, though it was teased at TennoCon. Right now, you can only pick between a male or a female character and a kind of preset models, but customization will be coming later. You can, of course, change the colour of your armour sets and things like that, and all of the armour in-game that you craft is only visual, which does feel a little bit weird. I feel like armour in games like this should have some kind of stats to them, but maybe as the game's development progresses, then there will be different rarities of armour that will actually give you stats. We don't know. Now, the game features 3 different pacts in the demo, which function as your classes. Think of them like frames in Warframe. The available pacts in the demo right now is the Fey Pact, which is the bird-like one that has the ability to turn enemies to stone and then attack them with a flock of birds as well. There is the Ode Tempest Pact, which is the lightning based one with electric abilities, which is incredibly powerful. Then there is the Garen Rude Pact, which is focused on crowd control and a health leeching mechanic, but at the time of recording this I still had 4 hours left on its build timer. Now you start the game with a choice of 3 weapons, but once you find the blacksmith ancestor out in the open world, you bring it back to the Nightfold. You can then craft any of weapons that you want to, but to craft these weapons you will need to find weapon fragments. Some weapons will require 3 fragments, others 4, and so on. But the weapons in the alpha right now include bows, daggers, dual daggers, split swords, there is a halberd, there is sword and shields, and there is longswords. Crafting a weapon can take 4 to 5 hours, while Pacts have a 23-hour build timer, or at least the Garen Rude one does. When crafting weapons, you can also choose their quality based on their joinery. So there is grey gold, which is your basic level weapon. There is the palladium, which gives you +1 upgrade. There is the sun gold one, which gives you +2 upgrade. And then there is another material, which I've forgotten the name of, which gives you +3 to that weapon. But the combat in Soulframe is one of the biggest talking points about the alpha. After some feedback from the showcase at TennoCon, it's clear that the developers have actively been working on improving it. The combat does feel much better than it did a few months ago when the last time I played it, but it still has a lot, and I mean a lot, of room for improvement. The movement still feels a bit stiff, or I've seen it described as kind of slip and slide, and the combat has that floaty feel to it. Larger enemies in particular have wonky hitboxes. During the Torment Stag boss fight, I noticed instances where I was getting hit from the side even though I wasn't in the boss's direct line of attack, as it kicked its hoofs behind it. I was standing to the side but still got hit. That said, the game does have a stagger system with weapons that gives you recognition of your hits, though it could be a little bit better. Now, in most action RPGs, combat kind of falls into different playstyles. There's fluid combat for games like The Witcher, or even you could throw Devil May Cry in there, where all of your moves will seamlessly blend together and all of your combos and your abilities to make it feel almost like a dance. Then you will have like a grounded combat style for games like Dark Souls or even Monster Hunter, where every swing has momentum to it, and you will have hit stops added into it to add that, I guess, feeling of impact as you hit those enemies or those bosses. It definitely adds to the gameplay. Soulframe's current combat doesn't feel like it's fluid, it doesn't feel like it's grounded either. It definitely feels, or it leans more on the floaty side of things. There doesn't feel to be much of a hit stop when your weapon actually strikes an enemy, and in most action games, hit stops is a brief pause after you successfully hit an enemy, which signals that your weapon has connected with it. This doesn't kind of feel like that, and it might not feel like much, but adding hit stops or momentum from weapon swings to register hits and movement go a very long way in games like this towards making combat feel more significant. Without it, combat will just feel less responsive and adds to that floaty feel. Again, we know combat in Soulframe needs work. They know it needs work, but it does feel much better than it did a few months ago, and Preludes has got a very good foundation as it stands right now. Like, this is pre-alpha, right? So it still has a very long way to go. The combat, while improved, still needs some refinement, but for now the experience is just a fun and I guess a few interesting hours to check out a few new weapons. It's definitely something to keep an eye on as development progresses and see just how the game will be in a year's time. Oh, and another thing that I see being asked a lot is, what exactly is Soulframe trying to be? For me, it's looking like a slower paced medieval Warframe. Pacts are basically your Warframes. There is also moats, which work in a similar way to what mods do, that you can equip on your ancestors to change your playstyle a little bit. The dungeons in the open world are randomly generated tile sets like Warframe missions, where they're the same tile set but just a different loadout. Story wise, it's hard to tell off the demo because there is just a few quests, but we know it's centered around healing nature and vanquishing space invaders who land on your planet, destroy nature, start taking all your resources, have, I guess, imprisoned your children and mind controlled them to work for them, and you're basically trying to, I guess, vanquish all of this and heal the world. So that's kind of what it feels like. Outside of that, your guess is as good as mine. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of Soulframe. If you've watched any of my 3 streams with the raw footage, let me know. If you haven't, maybe check them out so as it's more, I guess, detailed into everything that's going on. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching. My body just